Hello, I'm Brian Swisher, and joining me today is Deanna. It is May 12th, and I'd like to thank you, Deanna, for being with us today and sharing your memories.
You're welcome.
Oh, thank you. And just to begin here, could you just tell me a little history? Where were you born?
I was born down in Baltimore, Maryland. I wasn't considered a city kid because we lived mostly in the rural area. But I did move into the city at one point, and that was where I graduated high school. My parents and my grandparents were all born in Carroll County, and they really enjoyed living in the county. But my grandfather's work took him toward Baltimore, so then that's why we moved in that area.
Okay. Well, so how old were you when you moved back to the Carroll County, or when you moved to Carroll County?
When I moved back into Carroll County, I was, I guess I was about 25, 26 years old, and we've been here for 38 years in our home in Manchester. And before that, we just had an apartment in Reisterstown when my husband and I first got married. And together, we only had one child here in Manchester. So she went to school, all through her school at Manchester Elementary, North Carroll Middle, and North Carroll High School, and graduated and got married, and then she moved on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And then, so 40 years almost.
Almost, yes. It's hard to believe.
So what changes, or, what have you seen through time, through
Well,
being here
when
so
we
long?
first moved here, everything was rural. Everything was wide open spaces. And I've noticed right in our town, and we mostly stayed in town, because, we're in the rural area ourselves, but we would go to, like, the hardware store. And the hardware store was called the Manchester Supply. Well, it's something else now. They've moved on. They always had everything you wanted. If you had a breakdown or something, they always had the parts you needed or whatever it was. There's Miller's Market in town. Miller's, the family is very well known, and they used to have their little store right on the main street up here on the corner of Route 30 and Route 27, and it was in a house. And they had a meat market in the back, and they had a truck or several trucks that would take meat down to Baltimore and sell meat right off the truck to people in Baltimore because they had no way to get to Manchester to get fresh meat. But they did have a little grocery market, but then the years went on and the family grew, and they built a market right behind this meat market. The meat market's still there. But they built their grocery store, and they're lovely people, and they're the kind of country store you would want to go to. And then there was, they had a high store up here at Maple Grove where the brand new high school was being built, and now it's a dental office. That changed. Mm-hmm. We did get a undertaker they built in the area. Quite a few things that changed. Mr. Therrett, Charlie Therrett, that lives up at the end of our road where we live, outside of town, he had a market up at Deep Run Road, and just about everybody knows where Deep Run Road is because it's a bad place for automobile accidents. It's a bad location. But anyhow, he's really aged, and now that's changed into something else. And it's things that you miss. You miss the things that you had when you needed them and when you were young and younger. But I just enjoy living in the county. I love being out in the outer part of the city. After being raised in the city, I think that had a lot to do with it.
Oh,
I think it did.
Absolutely. And you mentioned your parents were from Carroll County.
My parents and my grandparents. My grandfather and grandmother were born in the 1890s, and they lived over in Westminster on Carrollton Road. And my grandmother and grandfather, when they got married, lived on the Brem farm. And my grandmother and grandfather on my mother's side of the family lived right down the road from them, and they were the tenant farmers for another farmer that was over there. When my dad was born and grew up and through school and whatever, he started working as a tenant farmer with the tenant farmer, and that's where he met my mother. And
wow.
and it's and the houses are still there. Just last year I went over that way. We were just out riding, and we took photographs from the road of the houses. We don't like going on anybody else's property, but we took photographs of the road, and I mean of the homes and the farms and where my grandfather used to live and my grandmother on my mother's side. When we would come from Baltimore and drive up to visit them, which wasn't often in those times, we would come up Route 140. Well, when we came up Route 140, 140 was a 2-lane road, and it was just called the Old Westminster Pike. And we would come that way and go to visit my grandmother. And I watched coming up to visit that as they built the dual highway. And I mean, it's amazing what they did with the dual highway. And there was nothing on the dual highway but billboards. Billboards. And then all of a sudden, all these industry, all these commercial places started to develop, and now it's what it is. It's what it is in 2009.
A lot different.
Very busy road.
But that's good, though. You can still travel and, see a part of your family's history, the old houses.
Right. I love it that we can do that. So I took a photograph with my digital camera last year and sent it to my aunt. She's one of my dad's siblings. There's only 3 of his siblings that's still living. And so I sent it to her, and she was amazed. She was amazed, and she loved it. So she wants to come. She lives in another part of the city, and she wants to come and have me go and take her riding through that area, just like taking her on a tour. So that'll be nice.
That'd be really
That'll be nice. Yeah.
And I understand you have some military history, or with your family as well, you stated?
My grandfather was in World War I. He was in the Army in France. And thank God he wasn't injured, or anything like that. And I did have some postcards at one time that he had sent home to his wife, my grandmother. And I don't have them now. My sister has them. But I'd love to have them to just cherish, And it was really amazing how the postcards and how their mail was sent through the military, to come to the families. Not like it is now. Nothing like it is now.
Mm-hmm.
But of course we have progress. Yeah.
Certainly. And bouncing back to your history with Carroll County, you moved around 25. Did you meet your husband? I can't quite remember.
I met my husband. I worked when I graduated high school in 1958. I went to work at Montgomery Ward down on Monroe Street in Baltimore. And he was working there, but our paths never crossed. And we used to even ride the bus at the same time. I was on the transit bus, and he would be on the transit bus, but I never knew him. I never got to meet him. But anyhow, when my dad worked at Black & Decker, and here in Hampstead, and he asked me one day, he says, you could probably make more money if you went to Hampstead. I worked in Montgomery Ward as a customer relations representative. Put yourself in the customer's place. And so I've always been a good person, and still am. But anyhow, he says to me, why don't you come with me one day? I'll take you up and give you an application at Black & Decker. And so I says, well, okay. But I had worked 8.5 years in Baltimore at Montgomery Ward. And that's a long time to have to change a job, especially in that time of my life. Mm-hmm. But I did. I went and put an application. I was hired. And soon after I was hired, a matter of about 3 years, I met my husband, Jeff. He worked in another department. And soon after that, we were married. And we only had one daughter. But my time at Black & Decker was about 5 years. And then I worked for, I just raised my daughter for several years. After she was born, I just couldn't leave her. And I wanted to stay at home with her. And we pinched pennies, but but we made it, and we're still in the same house. We've never changed houses, even though we did want to one time. But we have a nice acre of ground, and we figure that's our little piece of earth, you know. And then after I worked at Black & Decker for about 5 years, and my little girl was just growing, and I said, well, I can't leave her. So I didn't go to work until for another maybe 6 years. And then I went to work at Carroll County Hospital, just in the dietary department for a year. I didn't care for that. So I took a job at Craft World in New Windsor, which was a company that was a distributor of craft products. And I worked there 11 and a half years. And that was really a good experience for me. My daughter grew. I knew she could take care of herself, and, you know, had daycare people looking after her and things like that when it was necessary. But she did well going through school, and finally, when she got married, I thought I better look for something else because the craft company went out of business, and I lost my job. And so my daughter had 2 children. I took care of the 2 children for several years, and then I took a job at the Carroll County Public Schools as a custodian, the same as my husband. But I was at different schools. You weren't allowed, they wouldn't permit husbands and wives to work in the same schools together after a period of time. So when I worked at the Carroll County Public Schools, I worked at the Gateway School when it was over at the airport area where Marata is. They had a school called the Gateway School, which was for disturbed children. And then I got transferred to the brand new Shiloh Middle School down in Amstead, which I liked working, and I worked there full time for several years. And then I was a hourly person just to help out in some of the different areas, and I got to go back to Manchester Elementary where he originally worked. But the thing that I loved about Manchester was I lived in the county when Manchester Elementary School was the old school, when it had elementary students, but there were 3 floors in the school. I saw all the renovations that they made changes when the county was developing new homes coming in, a lot of children, and they were just so overloaded that they needed more space, and they worked on it while the children were there in school. And they overloaded, you know, and then they built the North Carroll High School. And then, of course, now we have so many developments that are farms that have been developed and homes and whatever that we needed another high school. So now we have the one up here at Maple Grove. We have another elementary school, Ebb Valley, that's up closer to my home on Lineborough Road. And I just see every bit of land that was just open land when we moved here. I just see it all being filled up with something that is needed, and I can't do anything about progress, and maybe I don't even think I want to, you know. I've lived a full life. I've lived a full life here, and I do like it living outside of town. I like being not right in the little city after being raised in the city area. Not that I was in the, you know, way down in the city.
So what did you like best about, you know, the small town vibe versus the city?
The small town, I liked it because it was quiet. I think it was quiet. I think people have more time. Time doesn't go as fast as what it does in the city. We were real laid back. We had the first 10 years, I think we lived there, we had a vegetable garden. And, you know, my husband always did the lawn, but we had a vegetable garden, and I could can my groceries and freeze it and things like that. And people still do that. And now, with the new administration, people are doing that all over again. I've seen things come full circle. Many, many things come full circle. And this is one of the things that's coming full circle, that people are starting to take care of themselves, because the time may come when they will have to take care of themselves. I don't know, maybe I won't be here then. You know, I'm 68 years old. It doesn't seem like it. And then when I retired, I came to this senior center, but it wasn't in this building. It was over at the library across the road. And before I had joined the senior center several years, maybe 2 or 3 years before, while I was working at the craft company, I had so many crafts in my home, craft supplies that I had either purchased or they had given away to the employees, that I brought boxes and boxes and boxes of supplies in one day because I just wanted to see what it was like. One of these days I'll retire and maybe I might want to go to this senior center that's down here in Greenmount. And so, believe it or not, Renee was the administrator and she was very young. And I came in and a little timid, and I said, I have some supplies in my car that I would like to donate to the people that are here, that maybe they can make some things with it and earn some money for your senior center. And she said, oh, thank you very much. She said, I'll send somebody out to help you. Well, when I opened my tailgate, my car was packed up to the ceiling, and we brought these boxes in and set them on the little round dining room tables, and the dining room tables had so many people around the tables getting stuff out of the boxes, and it just took my heart. I thought, well, why did I keep this stuff at home so long? And so anyway, when I retired, I thought, well, I'm going to go check it out again. And I've been here ever since. I've come here ever since. And I love coming here. When you come through these doors out here and those doors open, it's just the atmosphere is so warm. The people are so friendly. And everybody gets along. And they have so many activities that, you know, there isn't something that isn't here for everyone. You know, there isn't something that isn't here for everyone to do, you know, and the volunteer part is my way of giving back for all the things people have done for me in my lifetime, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And so I have Red Hat Lady little groups that we go to lunch once a month, and I have, I make Project Linus blankets for the needy children in hospitals and emergency. And that's my life. And I can do that at home and enjoy that and
It's a good life.
still have, yes.
It's rewarding.
I have rewarded myself by the things that I love to do. And I love being retired. And I love being retired.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's really good. I hope I enjoy my retirement as well.
I hope you do too. I do.
So I just wanted to branch back here. You said you and your husband and your daughter, through raising a family in Carroll County, what would you say your fondest memories are? Did you have a spot that you would like to take your daughter to, or?
Well, we like to go to Christmas Tree Park, which is up there in Manchester, and I was here when the swimming pool, the Lion Club swimming pool, was very small. As a matter of fact, she took Red Cross swimming lessons in there, and then a couple years later they had done enough fundraisers that they could put in a larger swimming pool, and the larger swimming pool is what my grandchildren enjoyed when we would go to the Christmas Tree Park area up there. And then they built Charlotte's Quest behind the school, which is used by the school, and that is a nature center. And that is lovely. And they did that for Mrs. Collette, who was one of the teachers when my daughter was in the elementary school. Yeah, she passed away, and they did that in her honor. And they have something special there every year, just off of York Street.
Okay.
And it's just a nice nature trail to walk, and whatever you want to spend some time out with nature, it's the best place to go. And my family started in the year 2000 to have a family reunion with my dad's side of the family, and we do that in June at Christmas Tree Park every year since then. And it is, we've seen a few of our members, our family have passed away, and we all, you know, honor that and have a nice lunch, spend several hours together. And there's sometimes this is the only day we see these people until next year. You know, And it is very nice. It is very nice.
Touch base. And
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. And I understand you brought some
Yeah,
pictures
this
with
is a
you.
picture. I don't know how close you need me to hold it or anything.
I can hold that for you if you'd like.
This is a picture of my grandfather and grandmother that were born in the 1890s. This is when they met and got married. And if you want to turn it around, this is when my grandfather came home from the First World War, and my grandmother. And they had seven children together, and raised them all. And there's, like I said, there's three of the family left that is in that part of the family. And then this one is my mom and dad when they met, and they lived over on the Carrollton Road also in Westminster, where my mom and dad's mother and father were tenant farmers for a farmer over there. And they've passed away also. And then on the back is that was after their 50th wedding anniversary.
Uh-huh.
But they lived a little bit longer than 50 years together, but I don't know the exact number off the top of my head.
That's nice. It's really nice.
Yeah.
So your family has history with Carroll County. Did your husband's family have any connections with Carroll County as
No,
well?
not until he came to work up here at Black & Decker when he was 17 or 18 years old. He was probably 18 when he started working there.
So you all met in Carroll County?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And there's a little incident on the road where I live, and the road coming up through here was just 2 lanes from the city all the way up, 2 lanes all the way up into Hanover. And my dad would just bring us up here. But anyhow, the road where I live, there was an incident there when I was young, and my dad and mom would bring us to Hanover, the family. I have 5 sisters and brothers. And there was a house on the road. As we would pass the road, you'd look back, you could see this house on the road. It was a brown house, A-frame house, because A-frame houses were not popular then. And I always said, boy, I would love to live in a house like that. And I'll tell you the coincidence about it. We bought our property on that road and built our home. Yeah.
That's nice.
And across the road from us was always a farm until, I guess, about 10 years ago. They divided the farm and started to build homes. And when we moved on our road, there was only 22 homes. And now there must be about 150 or more that branch off of the farms that sold and developed and whatever, you know.
Wow.
And one time I purchased this book. My husband was talking about it on his little chat, and I bought this book. I don't even know what brought it to my attention, but it was called The History of Manchester, and I bought it at the town office up in town, Manchester. And he started to read it, and he loves history, and he started to read it, and he would tell me, he got so excited, he would tell me about all the things that had gone on way before our time, like the Conestoga wagons and the toll road, Manchester, from the end of Manchester to the other end, there was a toll booth that you had to pay a toll to go into Pennsylvania. And I said, they should do that now, they'd make good money. But he loves reading it, and he would just tell me different things that were in there, and then we would go looking for them to, for him to enjoy. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
If anybody would ever want to read the book, they can get it from the town office. And it was written by Reverend Schlechter, the minister at the church across from the town office. And he really did a good job, but he's passed on now.
It sounds like a nice book, and I'm
Mhm.
sure the viewers of this would love to read that. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Very interesting.
I'm glad. So I really don't have any other questions for you. Is there any other memories that we may have missed out on that I didn't touch on that you'd like to share?
No. I don't want to go over my notes again.
Oh.
But this has been a full life for us. We went on a lot of vacations. We had 2 grandchildren, and my husband spoke about my grandson passing away in a car accident just this past Thanksgiving, and that's been very hard on our family. My daughter and her husband and myself and my husband. It's been very extremely hard on us because something like that's never happened before, and it was so sudden, and it was on a holiday. But my granddaughter is getting ready to graduate from high school, so she's at the stage where my daughter graduated from North Carroll, and she goes to Bermudian Springs in Pennsylvania, and she's getting ready to graduate this year, so we know what her life has been. And we had a thing from when our grandchildren were born that we would, every chance we had, we would take them on vacation with us, and we took them on vacation with us up until they were about 6 or 7 years old. Then we had to stop, and then we started up again, and we've taken them to so many places that we know that they've had a full life, in the places their parents have taken them and whatever. So Carroll County's been good to us.
Oh,
Has been good to us.
that's really good to hear.
Mhm.
Really good to hear. And you have a lot to look forward to as well.
Right.
A lot
I
to look
hope.
forward to. Definitely. Well, this concludes the interview. I'd like to thank you, Deanna, for sharing your memories
Well, you're
today. We
quite
certainly
welcome.
appreciate it.
You're quite welcome. I'm glad to do it.
Oh, thank you.